Frank Castle, the Punisher, is my recommendation for new players that want to learn the ranged duelist role, or the sniper style role. Frank has a really straightforward kit, and everything in it interacts very similarly. He's got a good escape option, some mobility, and the ability to deal with divers, so he's an all-around good option for a player that likes to stay back and stay safe. Punisher's kit is a little bit more friendly towards missing a few of your shots and could be a really good option for learning and getting better at your aim. I've already talked about learning how to be a vanguard and learning how to be a strategist. If you haven't done that yet, you should go back and learn those two roles first, I think, before you enter into the duelist role. Duelist is the most attractive option for new players, but oftentimes you do not learn the fundamentals of the game when you're trying to take on this role, and you miss out on a lot of opportunities to understand how your team actually interacts, and often get yourself in sticky situations that could be avoided. But on to the Punisher himself. Punisher's basic ability is a semi-automatic rifle. He'll shoot out bursts of shots in front of him with decent amount of ammunition, and a small amount of damage per bullet, but a lot of bullets per second. This ability does melt anyone coming towards you as long as you're able to keep your crosshairs on your target. Alternatively, you can press the 2 key to switch over to his shotgun. This is going to widen your target reticle and deal a lot more damage to targets within close range of you. The shotgun has massive fall off and is going to do mediocre damage to targets even a medium distance away from you. You only want to use this if you're fighting somebody in the melee ranges. Pressing 1 again switches you back to your rifle. Switching between your guns and learning how to deal with far away and close-up targets is one of the core skill sets of being a duelist. Punisher's right click throws out a smoke bomb. This will create an area of obstruction, blinding the target that you hit and giving you a slight knockback, moving away from where you threw it. This is a great way when you get dived onto to quickly move back and switch over to your shotgun. There is an animation switching to the shotgun, so you want that little bit of movement difference from the smoke screen to be able to get that new weapon out and be able to unleash the damage. The smoke bomb can also be used offensively, shooting it a distance away from you. It has a decent lob and it can blind targets, stopping them from being able to deal out the damage while you know where they're at and can melt them. E ability will build a Gatling turret with 200 ammo. This has a shield on the front of it and it has an HP pool that will protect you from some incoming damage from the front. Great rate of fire and no need to reload for a lot of shots makes this an excellent option if you're able to set up a firing. With a vanguard in front of you protecting you and a nearby strategist keeping everybody alive, you can really mow down the competition. The problem with this turret is that you are immobile when you're using it. A lot of divers are going to notice you when you put this thing up and are going to want to get on top of you and take you out before you can wipe out their team. Turret can't be placed everywhere. It has to be placed on a flat surface with a decent amount of room around it, so you're going to have to get familiar with where you can actually unload on this thing. Paying attention to damage from your rear when you're on this turret is really important. Look for that red damage taken indicator, and if you notice it, you need to hop off or spin around rather quickly and deal with whoever's behind you. Rookie Punishers will tunnel vision in and not pay attention to their surroundings, easily getting wiped out. Punisher's shift ability is a zipline, which has a decent amount of range, and when activated, you will then slide along the zipline. These ziplines will stay around, and you can have several out at a time. Going near an existing zipline and pressing the F key allows you to zip along it. Setting up a set of routes from your spawn point all the way to the engagement area is really effective with these ziplines, and you can get back to combat a lot faster than a lot of other players. Though don't rush ahead without vanguards and strategists backing you up. His passive makes it so when he breaks line of sight with a target, he still retains a silhouette of their outline. You can see how they're moving for a short period of time after you've lost sight of them, and this can give you a lot of information on their movement patterns. Paying attention to enemies' movements after they've broken line of sight is a great way to be able to know that they're coming back into view for more shots or if they're repositioning and getting a new vantage point. Final Judgment is his ultimate ability. After a brief windup, he gets kitted out with a missile launcher and 2 heavy Gatling guns. He's able to fully move around with this ability active and deals massive damage to anybody he's able to lock his reticle onto. You're still a 275 health duelist when you activate this ability, so don't go charging into the entire enemy team, but you can still lay waste to entire teams and get some awesome highlight reels from this ability being used effectively. The most common problem players have when they're playing his castle is they get too invested into his ultimate or into his turret and get tunneled in on the targets in front of them. Try and keep your situational awareness active and know where your vanguards are to protect you and where your strategists are to keep you alive. Most of Punisher's attacks are hit scan, which means when you shoot, no actual projectile comes out. It detects whatever targets are in your direct line of sight, and it'll deal damage to the first target that it intercepts in that line, which means you don't have to lead your shots because there's no actual projectile that you have to make sure hits the target. The only exceptions to these is the Gatling turret, your E, and your rocket launchers in your ultimate form. Both of those actually have projectiles, and with the E-turret, you actually have to lead your shots to make sure you hit the target. You can't just point your reticle right on the target. This can be a little bit hard to get used to because your basic ability is hit scan and then your turret is not, and it just doesn't feel like it's jiving quite right. That's my one kind of gripe right now with this character. Punisher has one team up with Rocket Raccoon. When Rocket and Punisher are in the game, Rocket's able to put down a special beacon that gives Punisher unlimited ammo. As long as you stay within range of the beacon, you never have to reload your assault rifle, which makes you an absolute killing machine. Punisher does have a small HP pool. He looks really big and beefy, but he's just as vulnerable as all other duelists. Positioning and knowing when you can unload an absolute massive volley of attacks with either your culling turret or your basic assault rifle is really important, or if they need to come directly down a hallway towards you, and know that you can really lay into them during these times. But peek back and forth from line of sight when you don't have an allied target in front of you, blocking hits for you. Punisher can be played as a flanker, using his zip lines to be able to get to side angles around targets, and then setting up that turret and culling the enemy's back line from the side. At the start of your days, it's a great idea to take Punisher into the practice range and practice your aim. Doing aiming drills, targeting targets, breaking line of sight, and dealing damage to them in short bursts, as well as practicing your snap range, moving on and off your reticle onto the target, and trying to get as many shots into them as you can while moving or breaking line of sight is a great practice tool, and it's really important to make sure you get your aim top notch if you're going to play a ranged duelist. If aim really isn't your strong suit, but you're dedicated to doing damage, then you might need to consider a melee duelist, and we'll talk about those guys next time. Sazaze.